Well, I'm glad to be still with you. Do what? No, no, they're trying to give me COPD. And, no. So, and they don't want to understand that they're treating him. So I can't give it to anybody. But I know I wouldn't be really. Really. No, no. You're okay. You're okay. All right, well, three quick saves we're close enough. So listen. First question. What question are we on in this enlightenment and enlightenment textbooks? Anybody tell me? The mirror, the handout, why is in the textbook? Where are we? What one? That's okay. I'm looking through this. I'm listening like you are. So. Circular reasoning, yeah. Just the beginning of that. Okay. That's my last note. I ended up with, I found something this week that was very important, very question. It was a modern, who? No, really big some that. All right. It was a modern concrete drill bit in coal. Now, a lot of this stuff, I'm afraid, this artificial intelligence stuff they're doing, you're going to see a lot of stuff that isn't true that people are going to do. So I'm trying to find out if that's true. It's not unbelievable to me to find it, but they say it's right in a coal seam. And I'm like, but I appreciate because when he'll say things, he'll say, here's what it says. I don't know if it's true or not, but and then you got to remember that people do fake things a lot. But I thought that was interesting. And I brought a book. This came from our school. We were describing it. It's on dinosaurs. And it's a book of poetry about dinosaurs. And I was going to send to Dr. Owen. I don't know if he has a poetry book about dinosaurs. But they're all written, all these poetries, these things are very cute, but they're all written with this idea that there are no more dinosaurs. And yes, but the first line, 65 million years ago, dinosaurs disappeared from the earth. I mean, it's in all of them. It's in elementary stuff. It is literally, and this is the greatest hoax ever been perpetrated, I think, on scientific world release. This is terrible. I'm listening, I'm hearing from pastors who are saying that they're clean, unfortunately. I'm not trying to my family, but that's what oh, good. But I'm listening to these pastors that I'm sorry, they have sold out. And they're clinging to the gap theory, and they're saying that there's no way that the earth could be 6,000 years old. And I'm amazed, but the devil is a deceiver. He says, I'm new, it's going on for a long time. I am thankful for, I mean, each one of us, we're here because of your king. You could be one of those that believe this. So I'm very thankful. The Lord is gracious. Anybody who's not religion, 65. So there it is. All right. I'm going to take prayer requests here on an envelope. This is a good job. A letter came to the church and it's addressed to the director of fund. Director of fund. Well, but I just thought you got a kid, really. But they do the bouncy houses. You know, and most of your younger years, all right, you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. It is August 10th. August 20th. Thank you. All right. John, where are you going up to see about? Not sure yet. Okay. We're going to put John up here. Our brother's funeral. I hope they can say this. He is the last of his people. That's a weird feeling. And brother, my dad died. It was overwhelming. I'm not sure what word to use. My dad was always there. And now he's not here. It's a weird feeling when you do this. All right. So we're going to pray for John and Massachusetts. All right. Anything else? All right. College kids returning. All right. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Young player. We're in the campus first 2 days. All right. There's a real request again here. If you're wondering if I'm going to take music, the answer is no. Your pastor doesn't believe in taking music. I know there's instances you can use it, but then not do it. Basically, there's no way. The Lord's got to have somebody, so we can say, there's got to be something.
I called Betsy at 5 just before I started getting ready to go. She's still on the road. They got a late start. They haven't even got there. She's following the van.
Sure.
So pray for that because this will long.
Yes, it is. Pray for Betsy. She's on the road. John?
Sarah texted me. Dad had her.
Sarah Holcomb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dad had her surgery on her face today for skin cancer. They got it all. She just died. She go breast cancer. Pretty nice.
You're talking about Pat?
Yeah. She had her surgery today for skin cancer. And it went well. They got it well.
Okay, good. Skin cancer. All right. The shift?
The schedule my appointment, they, moral doctors do not have wisdom.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, who didn't turn the phone off? I didn't turn my phone off. It wasn't me, but.
I knew I did.
Yeah.
I didn't have to.
Stephen, you didn't tell me. See, there it is. Almost got me. All right. Oh, sorry. Marie does.
That's my daughter, is down Friday and leaving Wednesday, so he's a little concerned with her.
I've seen some pictures of North Carolina. South Carolina. Just roll around you can see streets. And that's bad. Just comes there for 3 minutes. You sit right next to her.
Well, it became very confusing when interviewers this week, and it's like, she's coming down, we're going to be coming out.
All right.
And preparation is drinking this stuff was cold enough in the morning.
Yeah.
You ever had to do that? I know.
When you turn 60.
You what? We'll see that.
When you go through your insurance.
They actually tried to get you to do it earlier.
Yeah.
Trying to get Steve.
I know the man of, turn 65, you can, of course they take it.
Lloyd and I prayed for myself and she did it. And God is in heaven. Everything God is expected.
That's right.
Take piano lessons.
I did this.
All right.
So the homework and then I'll be in work with, husband and, over the camp and that sort of thing. And then, or if I work with another year, she has a brain tumor. She's off for, no more chemo. And I just here today, the other part of them, tried to look at the week, and, this stuff is good. It's starting to get graduate from lockdown, I'll have to work there. She had worked there, she can't work anymore, but she's, so pray for her, pray for that family.
What area is this?
I did.
What did it say? Computer's on. What's his name? Dear Father, we do thank you again for the opportunity to come before your throne. We're well aware of the fact that this opportunity was purchased for us with the blood of your Son. For this, thank you. For your mercy, for your grace, that you showed to us. We are counted one vote to save. Thank you for you. For these prayer requests and Sunday Baptist Church this evening, laying before your feet. We acknowledge that you are the one who can answer prayers for and make these requests this evening. Think of Brother John, that you watch over him again as he's lost his brother and the spiritual condition of the understanding is not good. Father, again, give John an opportunity to shine his light for thee about this time. Friends and family be in that way. If you will rather, please give him wisdom and wisdom. We pray for the college young people as they return from schools. Here in PJ, one in Master, these other ones in Pensacola, Lord, safety as they come back to pray for what you have for them. We ask for the piano player, Betsy's on her way. Protect her, she's traveling. Give her safety tonight. As we look for another piano player, again, Lord, prepare something. Lord, we really request that they serve you. We give some of the heart to serve. We're kind of in our own. I guess that's this makes me pick up. So we need your help on this. You're seeing on the and we pray again for Pat. Got a good report on her surgery. Lord, that you knew what was going on. She was there. Everything went well. We're very thankful for that. Bring that back to us. Sarah, she herself takes care of the mom. We bring her back to the church. We pray for Mrs. Jennings. Lord, again, in our eyes, they messed up. But you are sovereign God. For whatever reason it is, give her grace until next month. She has another doctor appointment. It's not again wisdom as he considers what to do. It's going to be used to help them. I'm sure they can be on it. We pray again for the Harrisons, that they've been out for quite a while. Just again, it seems like you know. We all are. We just ask that you would strengthen them, let them know we're thinking about them, or every opportunity we have to see them, we do it. So, even about the time we ever come back here to visit their homes. For Beverly, as she's coming down to visit, the weather coming up, just again, give her wisdom and understanding the circumstances she's going to be moving into. I know they're excited to have her down here to just strengthen her and she's now. For Richard, as he is preparing now for his procedure, that you can help him to get all the liquid down he needs to. Bless the do his work so the doctors can see where everything is supposed to go. Richard, as he goes in there tomorrow to get his procedure done. Again, we ask for wisdom. Our Lord, again, my brothers are seeking your will and what to do after the spouses have done what to do. Just ask that you comfort them. Most importantly, as they seek thy will, and in the darkness that you be light. So we ask that you would help them to again solidify what you have them to do. Pray for this one Whitney with the brain tumor. She may more chemotherapy, and tumor's going to do what tumor do. It's going to end the life. So we just ask that you give her comfort in this decision. Allow her to be able to shine with thy love to her family. And I know I've been there. I've seen the parents say cry. Lord, it is the way that sin has brought us. We rejoice in the fact that we have eternal life. We will see one another again. We ask for this fellow John who lost his job. Again, open up opportunities, give him avenues in which to check the places that he will be able to do best to use for your honor and glory in what places or places. So these requests, Lord, will again bring at your feet. We are helpless between the about these, and everyone listens and asks. So we receive said our Bible says, praise me, and answer our prayer. Right? Jesus says it. Amen. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I read an article this week about a fossilized remains of a blue star that was 435 million years old. And it's a new species.
They got to rethink this. They've got to rethink it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, thank you, Kelly. We have a couple of options on our church fair. It can even be moved to October, so October's a little cooler. We've got some spots in September, but here's the trick. If you had a choice, would you rather have a picnic late morning, into the afternoon, so in other words, lunch. Because we can't get it the whole day because it's going to split the time from it. So you can have it in the evening till 7, or you can have it in the morning till 2 or 3.
So the morning is 9 to 1 and then 3 to 7. Now we can get like on the 29th.
Okay.
For the morning.
Okay. What did we get last year?
We got morning.
This morning.
Nobody showed up in the afternoon.
Okay.
All day.
Okay. There you go. Well, Brother Dave was in the Ledberg on this, the same park we were in last year. That was a wonderful park there, Greenville, and just a lot of different things to do. Good park to be in. So, would you rather have a lunch, or would you rather have a supper? Would you rather have September or October? So let's get the lunch time frame out. Who would rather be in the lunch time? How about the dinner time?
The hours for lunch, you said 9?
9 to 1.
9 a.m.
9 to 1.
When we can get there earlier, the rental is 4 hours, not early.
Okay, so that's an early lunch.
Well, that's why it is 12. I mean, you get there, you start, you get there at 7 in the morning, if you want to set it up, but 9 to 1 is the rental of the building. And
Does one mean we have to be off of the premises at lunch?
so if we rent the morning hour and someone picks up the afternoon, we have to be off the morning. Rent the whole day, and we've got people that can do regular one, it's really cooler in the evening, but if it rains, we've got the luxury of saying, hey, we got the later, right, so we can do that.
So what were the evening hours?
So September 29th is our pick from a week ago. It's one of the next two weeks. So September 20th is open all day, and then all of October starts to get cooler. March 19th, September. It starts to get darker. About 7 o'clock. It's still okay.
So, those who chose for the morning, would anybody like the evening meal? All right. Guys, what are you doing?
I'm thinking all
Well,
day,
we're talking
all
about
day
all
in
day
October.
and October 4th.
October 4th.
Wow. Go for it.
And that would be from 9 to,
97.
right.
Everybody else gets a vote on
Here's
that.
the question. Do we want to do kind of hot take at lunch? Or do we want to do burgers on the grill? And then if we're going to be there, if you want to be there all day, you can have an evening meal. That's the problem. The good problem. And we could actually eat 2 meals there if we wanted to, or we could just,
You kind of eat all day too.
well, that's
And
true.
burgers and hot dogs.
All the snack you can bring.
You know.
So we want to do a lunch meal and then a snack in the evening.
But if we do a lunch, back all day, we can say eat at 1 o'clock
Okay.
and then eat the rest.
What are we going to cook?
So you can,
What are we
well, last
gonna
year we did hamburgers and hot dogs.
And they eat lunch for dinner. Right. It was very good.
He's right in the middle.
I'm just wondering, is there something simple in the evening that if you do stay, maybe just kind of say, hey, let's do this. Hot dog grease is kind of stupid. Go through the fire and eat it. Or if you have lunch.
We just keep sandwich meat on ice and then take it out around 4 or 5 and people can make their own sandwich.
Reasonable? Okay.
Good chicken on the board. I'll give up sandwiches and chicken on the grill.
People would be understanding.
See that? A good meal for staying. And if you can't cook lunch, don't eat them in the afternoon. Or have it all day long. Okay.
I will say, my grandchild, they found out about the people eating that.
Okay.
And they always do it right.
For me, it's going to be a different part of the time of the all day long. If we do October 11th, that would work.
Okay, so October 11th, is that good? Sure. Okay, October 11th. Okay, we're having for all day. What do we have for lunch? Hamburgers and hot dogs for lunch.
We'll bring something light and Virginia feels like we
Yeah,
need
we'll
chicken.
do chicken.
We'll bring something light.
I'm just saying snacks.
I'm thinking sandwich.
All right, there we go.
Where do we
Sandwich
decide
stuff.
on
You can make it
10, 11, and it's 9 until when? 7.
9 until 7. Yeah, so, and again, if you don't want to stay all day, that's fine. Okay. All right, I'm settled.
October 11th.
Good, October 11th. Okay, well, I'm not going to sing a song this because we've already exhausted our time again. So we're good. Okay, let me turn this back on. Wait a minute, is this? You did it? All right, and this thing picked up where we played the video for our homecoming, and I thought it would erase the time signature. It didn't. I put this disc in, and I'm like, this thing's smart. Okay, here we go. Right where we left off.
Is a lie. What Charlie observed is what is sometimes called microevolution. Microevolution tells us dogs produce a variety of dogs. That's a fact. It happens, okay? And roses produce a variety of roses. Nobody argues about that. The question is, does it go any farther than that? You may get a big dog or a little dog, but you get a dog every time. And probably the dog, the wolf, and the coyote had a common ancestor. I wouldn't argue about that. We did the test this morning. Had a 5-year-old girl. Said, okay, here we have a dog, a wolf, a coyote, and a banana. Which one is not like the others? She got it. The banana. We got college professors can't figure that out. Here's National Geographic says, the evolution of dogs from wolves. Well, duh, nobody's arguing about that. Yeah, dogs came from wolves, okay? The Bible says they bring forth after their kind. 10 times it says that in the first chapter. See, this word evolution has 6 meanings. We've been through this before, so I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. There's, first of all, cosmic evolution, Big Bang. Secondly, chemical evolution, where all the chemicals come from hydrogen. That's baloney. Thirdly, stellar evolution, where all the stars form from dust. You cannot get dust to condense into a solid star. Can't happen. There's Boyle's gas laws that drive it away, okay? Then, there's enough stars out there, though we can all have 11 trillion to ourselves. Then you have organic evolution, where life gets started from non-living material. And then macroevolution, where an animal changes to a different kind of animal. None of those have ever been observed. Number 6, variations within the kinds, sometimes called microevolution. That one happens. The first 5 are religious. So whenever you discuss evolution, you have to define what you're talking about. If you're talking about number 6, I'm with you. I agree, that happens. If you're talking about the first 5, that doesn't happen. That's something you believe happens, okay? Watch how they change the definition for the kids. They say, okay, boys and girls, evolution is change over time. Is that really what they mean? Watch this carefully now. In other words, living things have changed over time. Wait. Are you going to skip over the first 4? They just want to bypass the first 4 stages like it's not part of the theory? Well, then you don't have a coherent theory. Then they say, evolution is defined as a change in species over time. Now they're down to what I believe in. I think species can change. I think you can get some really weird varieties of animals, but they're still the same kind, okay? This is a lie, kids. That's not really what they mean by evolution. They want to give you examples of number 6 and make you believe that the whole theory has been proven. Don't get brainwashed. Most evolutionists will say, well, macroevolution is just micro with longer periods of time. No, it's not. They had a big conference on this very question in Chicago. They said the central question of the Chicago Conference was whether the mechanisms underlying microevolution can be extrapolated to explain the phenomena of macroevolution. The answer can be given as a clear no. It doesn't work. Variations happen, sure, but they have limits. You know, farmers have been trying to get bigger pigs for a long time. You think they'll ever get a pig as big as Texas? Nah, I bet there's a limit in there, okay? Roaches become resistant to pesticides. You think they'll ever become resistant to a sledgehammer? Probably not. See? There's a tiger had 3 kittens, all different colors, same litter. That's variations, but it's still a tiger. That's not evolution. They always end up producing the same kind of offspring, just like the Bible says. The information for the new variety had to be in the gene code already, or it couldn't produce it. No new information is ever added. The gene pool of the new variety is always more limited. Somebody spent years crossbreeding dogs to develop the Chihuahua. All that money to make a dog that's 100% useless. I mean, think about it. How long would the Chihuahuas last in the real world? Turn them all loose into the woods. Watch what happens. They run up to the wolf. Yip, 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 yip. Crunch. End of gene code, right? Genetic information is lost, not added when you get a strange variety. Real evolution would need an increase in genetic complexity. We don't ever observe that. Now, I grew up in Illinois, corn country. Did you know there are so many kinds of corn up there, they have to number them? You'll be driving down the highway and there's a sign that says BX65. Don't mix it with XL29. Something will explode. But folks, you can crossbreed corn from now till the cows come home and you are always going to get corn. You're never going to get a hamster or a tomato or a whale to grow on your corn stalk. It just ain't going to happen, okay? There's a whole variety of dogs in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor. A dog. There's BBC News. It looks like 95% of current dogs came from just 3 original founding females. Hey, they're getting closer. Right here it says, today's dogs come in all shapes and sizes, but scientists believe they evolved from just a handful of wolves tamed by humans living in or near China less than 15,000 years ago. They're getting closer. Man, if they keep studying their Bible, keep studying the science, they're going to be an independent Baptist when they're done. You get done climbing the mountain of truth, that's where you end up, you know. This Irish textbook calls them divergent evolution. Oh, come on. They show 5 dogs around a wolf, and that's not divergent evolution. Don't give it a fancy name. It's still a dog. It's just a variety of dog. This Mexican textbook says, the horse and the zebra had a common ancestor. I agree. It looked like a horse. You know, 4-wheel drive, genuine leather upholstery, all the standard horse equipment, okay? They got little tiny horses today. We had the world's smallest horse come visit our dinosaur adventure land. Talk about useless. I mean, you can't ride it. Well, my granddaughter could, but it won't bark, you know. What do you do with a horse like that? You know, horses, zebras, and asses can all be crossbred. They have competition in California. Who can get the weirdest animal? They get zorses, zonkies, zeonies, zedonks, zebras, and shebras. There's a zebra who forgot to put his PJs on. There's a herd of zebroids running around. You know, in the last 100 years, the Kentucky Derby's gone from an average winning speed of 127 seconds down to 123 seconds. Now, even in the old days, they had some pretty low times turned in, okay? Question. How much money would you guess has been spent on selective breeding trying to get the fastest horse for the Kentucky Derby? Millions and millions of dollars. They do the same thing right around here, don't they? Spend lots of money for a Tennessee Walker. What's the most expensive Tennessee walking horse that you've ever heard of? $1 million for one horse? $3 million for one horse. That's how much per pound? Man, I was in Italy, we ate horse over there. It's good, too. Tastes like chicken, you know. Now, I don't know if they've got to the absolute limit of horse speed or not. I don't know. But I suspect they're getting kind of close, okay? If you really want to win the Kentucky Derby, why don't you breathe wings on your horse and fly around the track in 12 seconds? The whole point is, sure, you get varieties, but they're limited. There's a bunch of different kinds of cows in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor. A cow. This magazine's where you order chickens. All right, boys and girls, should we order You know, cinnamon queens, red rocks, white rocks, cherry eggers, or brown leghorns. But look what the magazine says. Jungle fowl are the original bird from which all varieties and strains of domesticated chickens are derived. Did you know all the chickens had a common ancestor? Anybody want to guess what it was? Chicken. You got it. There are 8 kinds of bears in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor. A bear. Mm-hmm. You know, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts all have a common ancestor called a plant. Mm-hmm. In California, they got huge fields where they graft English walnut trees onto black walnut stumps. They do it because the black walnut stump, the root system is tough and can handle the weather over there. But the black walnut doesn't taste as good, it doesn't sell for as much money, and it's tougher to crack. English walnuts taste better, they sell for more money, and they're easier to crack, but the root system rots. So they cut them off and stick them together. They do it all over there. Well, they can do it because they're both a walnut. See, you could never graft an English walnut tree onto the back of a turtle. That won't work, see? The sugar beets were used for years. When sugar got expensive, they wanted to get sugar out of beets. So they tried to do selective breeding to increase the sugar content in sugar beets. They raised it from 6% to 17%. But could not, they ran into a brick wall. Hey, can't go past 17. And the further they got away from the normal wild sugar beet, the more problems they started having. Now you got to babysit the field and spray pesticides and bugicides and everything else on it. Okay? Because its disease resistance goes down. People say, don't bacteria become resistant to drugs? Well, that's because they lose information, not gain it. I'll show you. Dr. Spetner points out, this is based on a misunderstanding, for the mutations that cause antibiotic resistance still involve information loss. For example, to destroy a bacterium, the antibiotic streptomycin attaches to part of a bacterial cell called ribosomes. Mutations sometimes cause a structural deformity in ribosomes. Since the antibiotic cannot connect with the misshapen ribosome, the bacterium is resistant. Even though this mutation turns out to be beneficial for the moment, it still constitutes a loss of information, not a gain. No evolution has taken place. The bacteria are not stronger. In fact, under normal conditions with no antibiotic present, they are weaker than their non-mutated cousins. Give you an example. Suppose somebody's coming through town and they're handcuffing everybody, taking them off to jail, and then they're going to kill them. But you don't have any arms, so they can't handcuff you. Aha. Is that a beneficial mutation to not have arms? Well, yeah, for the moment, okay. But in long term, it's not beneficial, okay? And so all the examples they ever point to are bacteria becoming resistant to drugs. That's a loss of information, not a gain. The Bible is correct. They bring forth after their kind. James Hutton wrote a book in 1795, and people began to doubt the earth was 6,000 years old. Charlie Lyell wrote a book in 1830, and people began to doubt the flood, and Charlie Darwin's book made people doubt the Creator. And by the mid-1800s, people were wondering, wow, if God didn't do it, how did we get here? Who's in charge of the world? That led directly to the rise of communism, Marxism, socialism, Nazism. We'll cover that on Seminar Part 5. Politically incorrect, the dangers of this evolution theory. Now, Darwin didn't originate the evolution theory. It was around before him. He just simply made it popular, okay? But Timothy was warned by Paul here in 1 Timothy 6. You be careful about avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so-called. Evolution is not science. Evolution's a religion in every sense of the word. Hitler said, let me control the textbooks, I'll control the state. Professor Wilson of Harvard University said, as were many persons from Alabama, I was a born-again Christian. When I was 15, I entered the Southern Baptist Church with great fervor and interest in the fundamentalist religion. I left at 17 when I got to the University of Alabama and heard about evolution theory. He lost his faith. First year of college. That's what happened to Philip Wentworth. Studied for the ministry at Harvard, lost his faith, gave up on the ministry. That's what happened to Scott. He almost lost his faith until somebody showed him one of my videotapes. And he said, oh, man, you saved my faith, Brother Hovind. This Marty wrote me and said, I want to let you know your ministry's been a blessing to me. I'm one of the high school students in the anthropology class that is a victim of the dangers of evolution teaching. I was very discouraged and questioned the existence of God. I listened to your seminars, and that completely encouraged me, and it was a blessing to me. Yay, rescued one. It's amazing how many thousands of people down through history have lost their faith because of this evolution teaching. Karl Marx studied, said he wanted to serve God with his life. went off to college, became an evolutionist. Comrade Stalin. There was a special this afternoon on TV. How many saw that about Comrade Stalin on the History Channel? He went to a Christian school, read Darwin's book, became an atheist, killed between 60 and 100 million of his own people. Andrew Carnegie became an evolutionist, reading Darwin's book. He said it freed him from the shackles of religion. Light came in as a flood, and all was clear. Not only had I got rid of theology and the supernatural, but I found the truth of evolution. Carnegie left behind millions of dollars to make sure evolution is taught in our schools instead of creation. He funded the National Center for Science Education. The list is really long. We'll have to quit now. But 75% of kids from Christian homes that go to public schools lose their faith after 1 year of college. What's in these textbooks anyway? What are they teaching our kids that's making them lose their faith? Well, we're going to cover some of the lies in the textbooks, some more lies in the textbooks in the next session. There is no known evidence to support the evolution theory except things that have been proven wrong a long time ago. If real evidence exists for this evolution theory, I would like to see it. We've been offering $250,000 for real scientific evidence for evolution. We've had that offer for over 10 years. There isn't any. Okay? I'll give you an example. Suppose I had a theory that the moon is made of green cheese. Now, that's a dumb theory, I know. But hey, it's okay to have a dumb theory. There are no laws against dumb theories. But then suppose I started teaching my students, hey kids, did you know NASA proved my theory in 1973 when they went there on a secret mission and drilled a hole and found the moon is made of green cheese? Oh, now hold on a minute. It's okay to have a dumb theory. It's not okay to lie about my evidence for my theory, okay? It is worse for me to get paid by tax dollars while I lie about my theory. So I don't mind if they want to have a theory that we came from a rock. That doesn't bother me. It does bother me that they want to lie to the students about their evidence, and it really bothers me that I have to pay their salary while they lie to spread their theory. So here's some of the evidence they use for evolution theory. They say, we have evidence from fossils. I say, guys, you've got to be kidding. No fossil counts as evidence for evolution. None. If you find bones in the dirt, all you know is it died. You don't know it had any kids. No fossil could count as evidence for evolution. None. They say we have evidence from structure, from molecular biology, from development. Well, let's talk about a few of these. Evolution is dead. The theory is defunct. There is no evidence to support it, but some of the followers are pretty dedicated, and they're having a hard time letting it go. They'll even lie to you to make you think everything's fine. They say, wow, look at that evolution theory. It's perfectly fine. There's no challenge to evolution. Look, he never looked better. Pulse and heart rate look good. No, I'm sorry. He's a goner, okay? Don't be the last one off the boat. It is sinking. Evolution is based on two faulty assumptions. Number one, they say mutations make something new. That's never been observed. Number two, natural selection makes it survive and take over the population. Evolution is actually a religion of death. In order for evolution to work, one animal evolves a little better than the rest. What must happen to the rest of them to make this thing work? They got to die. Or else the new improved gene is swamped back into the gene code. The question is so simple and profound. Did man bring death into the world like the Bible says? Or did death bring man into the world like evolution says? Somebody is wrong. Textbook says there are mutations, and they are the original source of variation in populations. I agree, mutations happen. No question. But mutations do not produce any evolution. Mutations are scrambling up existing genetic code. They're not making anything new. There's a five-legged bull. That's a mutant. There's no new information added. He already had the information on how to make a leg. It just made one in the wrong place, that's all. It's not new information. It is scrambled information. Here's a short-legged sheep. Again, no new information. And by the way, that's not beneficial. He's the first one the wolf is going to catch. Right? Go, boys, go. Here comes the wolf. Brrr. Oh, Herman didn't make it. There's a two-headed lamb. That's a mutant. It's not beneficial. Two-headed turtle. That's a mutant. Not ninja, but it's mutant. Okay. Now, he's going to freeze first winter because nobody makes a double-neck turtleneck sweater. He's just not going to make it. Now, scrambling up the letters of the word Christmas will get you all sorts of different words. But it will never get you Xerox, zebra, or queen. The letters aren't available. This textbook shows the kids a four-wing fly, which, by the way, cannot fly. And it says, boys and girls, normal fruit flies have 2 wings. This mutant has 4. This rare mutation, like most mutations, is harmful. Then it says, beneficial mutations are the raw material for natural selection. No, hold on a minute. Why don't they show us an example of a beneficial mutation? Why did they tell us about the good ones and not show us a picture of a good one? You know why they didn't show a picture of a good mutation? Because nobody's ever seen one. There's never been one beneficial mutation. I said that in a debate one time, and this atheist said, "Hopen, you're lying." He said, "I can name a beneficial mutation right now." He said, people in Africa that get sickle cell anemia are less likely to get malaria. I said, "That's brilliant, sir. That's like saying if you cut off your legs, you can't get athlete's foot." They're both negative, okay? Then they say evolution and natural selection go together. This one says natural selection causes evolution. That's a lie. Natural selection selects. It doesn't create anything. Natural selection is not a creative force, okay? Natural selection may be a stabilizing force, but it is not a creative force. Anybody with half a brain can figure that out. Natural selection cannot create any properties. It can only select. This textbook says, evolution by natural selection had occurred in just 1 year. Oh, they're lying. It says natural selection can lead to evolution. That's a lie. Natural selection selects. It doesn't create a thing. If you worked in a factory that made cars, how far is the Saturn plant from here? Pretty close, isn't it? How many of you work? Anybody here work in the Saturn plant? Okay. Suppose you worked in quality control. Your job was to check the car when they got done building it, kick the tires, slam the doors, and drive it around. See if it runs. If you caught every single mistake, they don't, by the way, but if you did, okay, how long would it take that quality control process to change the car to an airplane? You say, Hofen, quality control can't change it to something else. Oh, I know. Only design engineers can change it. And God's natural selection is a quality control that will never change it to a different animal. It'll just make sure you get a good animal, that's all. They keep talking about survival of the fittest. Well, I agree, but that doesn't explain arrival of the fittest. And even survival of the fittest is pretty shaky. It's what's called a tautology, a sentence that means nothing. I'll show you. If you say, Professor, why did it survive? It's, oh, because it's the fittest, survival of the fittest. How do you know it's the fittest? Because it survived. How else can you tell? Oh, I see. Look, if a whale goes through a school of fish and eats 80% of them, it's not survival of the fittest. It's actually survival of the luckiest. That's what's really going on out there. But some of these scientists have the ability to make amazing observations and still come to the wrong conclusion. One day a bunch of scientists were going to see how far a frog could jump. They put the big old frog down there and said, "Jump, frog, jump." That frog jumped 80 inches. They brought the frog back, cut off one leg. Said, "Jump, frog, jump." He only jumped 70. They brought him back, cut off another leg. Said, "Jump, frog, jump." He went 60. They brought him back, cut off another leg. Said, "Jump, frog, jump." He jumped 50 inches. They brought the frog back, cut off his last leg, and said, "Jump, frog, jump." They expected he might go maybe, 40 based on the data. Actual jump was 0. The frog didn't move. They yelled louder, "Jump, frog!" The frog never moved. The scientists were baffled. They tried the experiment again. New frog. Got the same results every time. So the brilliant scientists put their data together and said, you know what, folks, the frog jumped less as the legs were removed. Hey, that's a good observation. They got it right on the head. Then they said, so we must conclude that a frog with no legs goes deaf. Bad conclusion. It's possible to have a good observation and still come to the wrong conclusion, That's what they did with the fruit flies. They put them flies in the laboratory, they nuked them, microwaved them, x-rayed them. They did all kinds of mean things to those flies, and they got some weird-looking baby flies. They got flies with curled wings. They fly around, buzz, zzz, 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 couldn't go anywhere. They got flies with no wings at all. What do you call that? A crawl or a walk? Can't fly. They raised all these mutated flies in the laboratory and said, you know what, folks, fruit flies refuse to become anything but fruit flies. Well, duh. So they said all mutations produce flies that were inferior to the original fly. Good observation. They said, so we must conclude that flies have evolved as far as they can go. Oh Oh, bad conclusion. You know, maybe you could conclude that God made them right to begin with, and all you're doing is messing them up in your laboratory. They were doing fine till you guys got a hold of them. Yeah. And they say evolution's as fit as ever. Yep, fruit flies in the north have wings 4% larger than flies in the south. Well, that proves something to somebody somewhere, I'm sure. But it's still a fly, okay? Then they tell the kids the peppered moth is proof for evolution. They counted the moths on the trees and found it was 95% light colored and 5% black. Then they burned coal in the factories and the trees turned black. And they counted the moths again. It was only 5% light and 95% black. The problem is the entire story is a lie. They glued dead moths to the tree to take that picture for your kid's textbook. It's right here. Where's this book used at, brother? It's not what used anymore. Peppered moth. It's still in the new books, though. Evidence for evolution. Those are dead moths glued on a tree, because after 40 years of watching, they found a grand total of 2 moths on the trees. 2 out of, let's see, what's 95% of 2? To do some figuring on that one. They still keep it in the textbooks, though, as evidence for evolution. What's the Tulsa Zoo doing, having a peppered moth display? I mean, this is a zoo, for heaven's sake. Why do they push evolution in a zoo? Get the book Icons of Evolution if you want a whole lot more on the history of this peppered moth idea. But they tell the kids, we're going to learn to think critically. Boys and girls, do you think humans are still evolving? What kind of question is that? That's one of those questions like, have you stopped beating your wife yet? Wow, let me think. If I say yes, I'm admitting I did. If I say no, I'm still doing it. Did you know it's possible for the question to already have a built-in assumption? Look at that question. Do you think humans are still evolving? What's the built-in assumption? That humans evolved. Now, how's a Christian kid supposed to answer that for homework for Monday? I would say, teacher, this question is poorly written. It assumes evolution has happened when it has not. It's like asking the question, you know, why are elephants orange? Boy, no, there's a tough one. Why are they orange anyway? They're not orange? This is not learning to think critically. This is a Soviet-style indoctrination-type brainwashing question. And when the kid gets done taking this class, he's going to think he knows how to think. But he doesn't. He knows how to be told what to believe, and he never understands how it happened to him. That's not thinking critically. Then they tell the kids, we've got evidence for evolution from homologous structures. Wow, what's that mean? Yes, boys and girls. Did you know you have 2 bones in your wrist, and they're called the radius and the ulna? Pretty cool. And did you know the alligator has 2 bones in his forelimb? And look at this, they're called radius and ulna. See that? That proves we are related. That's what they're going to tell them. Homologous structures provide evidence that these animals evolved from a common ancestor. It's found in just about every textbook. You got it in these other ones up here, I'm sure, don't you see? Homologous structures as evidence for evolution. They descended from a common ancestor, textbook says. Think critically. The bones are the same, boys and girls. See, that proves we're related. Evolved from a forelimb of a common ancestor. This textbook says, comparative anatomy provides further evidence of evolution. The commonalities suggest that these and other vertebrate animals are all related. They probably evolved from a common ancestor. This is a lie. They probably have a common designer. You know, the different bones in different animals come from different genes on the chromosomes. They're not homologous to begin with, okay? And even if they were, that still wouldn't prove common ancestor. Proves a common designer. The same designer made them all. Did you know the lug nuts from a Pontiac will fit on a Chevy? You can go out in the parking lot and try it. They will. That proves they both evolved from Honda 14 million years ago. No, it's true many animals have a similar forelimb structure. That's a good observation. I agree. They say they must have had a common ancestor. Oh, bad conclusion. Then they'll say, this helps prove we all came from a rock. Well, now you really have got a bad conclusion there. Then they tell the kids, we have evidence from development. Now, this one makes me angry. So I'm going to try to stay calm while we talk about this. Is probably one of the most dangerous lies in the textbooks. So just calm down now. Okay, I'm ready. This textbook says the similarity between the early stages of development of many different animals helped convince Darwin that all forms of life shared common ancestors. Darwin considered this the strongest class of facts in favor of his theory. This was the best evidence Darwin knew of for his theory. The guy who made up this dumb idea is named Ernst Haeckel. Haeckel called this idea we're about to share with you the biogenetic law, which means as animals develop inside the mother, they go through the stages of evolution. All you got to do is memorize the word farm, F-A-R-M, fish, amphibian, reptile, mammal. That's the way they say it happened. The phrase they had for it back then was ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. Wow, what's all that mean? Well, ontogeny is the growth of the baby. It goes through stages, okay? Recapitulates means it reenacts or does over again. Phylogeny is the evolutionary sequence. This Irish textbook says, the presence of fish-like structures in embryos of different species shows these animals have evolved from fish and share the basic pattern of fish development. It's as if the embryo retains a memory of its origins and starts to copy them during its development. That's the ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. Now, the idea that sick mind Freud relied on was the idea that ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, that is, the development of the individual recapitulates the evolution of the entire species. This is stupid and dangerous. They tell the kids the embryo, the baby growing in the mother, has gills like a fish. Gills? That's a lie. Those are not gill slits. Those little folds of skin you see on the embryo grow into bones in the ear and glands in the throat. They never have anything to do with breathing. My uncle had 5 or 6 chins, and he couldn't breathe through any of them but the top one. Okay? Those are not gill slits. Ernst Haeckel said the turning point in his thinking was when he read Darwin's book in 1860. See, Darwin's book was printed in English in 1859. The next year, it was printed in German, 1860. Haeckel was a German embryology professor. He read the book and said, wow, what a great theory. If only we had some evidence. Well, 9 years later, they still had no evidence, so Haeckel decided to help out. He was going to make some evidence. Haeckel took a drawing of a dog and a human embryo. He was an embryology professor, you know. And he lied. He faked the drawings. He changed them and made them look exactly alike to prove they're related. He just is a bold-faced lie, okay? Haeckel made giant posters of his fake drawings and traveled all over Germany and converted the people to believing in evolution. Which led to the next obvious question, hey, if evolution is true, I wonder which race of humans have evolved the farthest. And guess who the Germans thought it was? Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. Now, on top are Haeckel's fake drawings. Underneath are the actual photographs of these animals. He lied. His own university held a trial and convicted him of fraud. He said at the trial, I should feel utterly condemned were it not that hundreds of the best observers and biologists lie under the same charge. This biogenetic law is as dead as a doornail. It's not true. But it can't be taken out of the textbooks for some reason. It's been proven wrong since 1875, and they still keep it in the books. It's still used in this book. Evolutionary Analysis, college textbook, 1998 edition, used at University West Florida, the exact same chart of Ernst Haeckel. That's only been proven wrong since 1875, okay? I know it takes a while to get textbooks up to date, but that's long enough. I think 130 years, they ought to be able to get it out by now, don't you think? Okay? More about the gill slits in this book here, Icons of Evolution. Darwin's theory, his book came out in 1859. He predicted they would find evidence. 1869, Haeckel faked the drawings. 1875, it was proven wrong. But it's still in textbooks used all over the planet. 2004 textbook, still has it. 2005 textbook, and I pronounced it wrong as Chickasha, not Chickashaw, Chickasha, Oklahoma. I got corrected during the break. Still teaching the baby has gill pouches. Notice, for example, gill pouches, okay? Gill slits on the embryo. They're teaching this in textbooks all over the world. It's only been proven wrong since 1875. Get it out of the book. Tear the page out. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Tear out the page. It's not true. There's a junior high textbook telling them it has embryo has gill slits. This one says, similarly, humans and fish embryos resemble each other because humans and fish share a common ancestor. These similarities provide evidence that these three animals evolved from a common ancestor, tiny gill slits. Gill slits on the human embryo. Gills of fish. Tiny gill pouches, used in college textbooks. There's a 2004 textbook saying it has evidence of evolution is seen in development of embryos. You can't get a high score on SAT or ACT tests unless you lie and say the baby has gill pouches. It's found on every single test we could find. If you don't believe in evolution, you won't score high to get into college, or at least give the evolution answer. Why would they keep this in the textbooks 130 years after it is proven wrong? There's only one answer I can come up with. I'll tell you in a minute. This one shows a 5 to 6 week embryo.
Okay. We will stop there. Now 16 minutes. I'm going to get here real quick. And my wife, she's not here so she can't send herself. She was asked in her biology class questions about evolution. She got saved when she was 16. Lutheran religion, came to know Christ, joined the Baptist church, taught the Bible. And in her high school science class, she was asked a test about an evolution thing. And she wrote a message. She said this: "The answer you're looking for is this, but I do not believe it. And I believe the Bible is correct, and I believe this." So we all have our points in our lives where we have to stand up and take a stand. Mine was in high school. Dr. Shelley was a teacher of biology, freshman year. And he said something dealing with evolution, and I was thinking, I asked Dr. Shelley, I said, the Bible says such and such. He got all in front of class. Wow. And I recall when I told him, I told you this once before, I told him that, and Dr. Shelley said, and Dad sat down at his typewriter. Ding! Single space, both sides. Yes, he did. Both sides. And I found out later what he'd done. He wrote down the odds. My dad was very good father. The odds of evolution occurring. And the odds are, can't happen. Can't happen. And he had my brother deliver that letter to the mailboxes of the teachers and put it in Dr. Shelley's slot. I couldn't see the picture. I wish I had a copy of it. The next day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The next day we were in class and we were going over the same pages again. And he stopped and said, "But there are some who believe the Bible accounts creation. And that's okay." And he never taught me evolution again. That was my class. That was my dad. I love my dad. He was a defender of the faith, a defender of his family, and I got something from him. So if I'm cantankerous, that probably came from my dad. If I love as I'm supposed to, it came from my mom. But the fighter part, the stand up and say that's wrong, that's from my dad. But anyway, so I love these. And again, he was talking about some things my head was spinning today. I'm going, remember that! But anyway, that's okay. You don't have to know all of it. Just get a few things down. And the goal is to increase your faith. Build your faith. That's what it is. Marie?
Jonathan, say it like at the end of his life that it wasn't true.
There are recording records of him doing that. There are several very famous atheists that have made that kind of statement. I don't know if they're absolutely true. There are some world dictators that have said things like that supposedly on their deathbed. There was a tract written that said, on the last moments of your life, what would you say? It's a very, very high notable names in these people. And I hope they did. I hope they repented. The Lord saved them there, and that's good. I think I told you this last Sunday, or whenever I was here last, that the man with the highest IQ in the world these astrophysicists, these men who go off on tangents, the Bible's wrong. And I can tell you why. Anybody, I'll take anybody who comes to my house. So anyway, so again, just kind of take a few pieces and let them work on you. And there's enough going over this kind of repeat things. We have none. I want them to be using it. This is a battle here. This is a battle. And I love this. I do. I'll sometimes open my mouth about it. And I've not heard of it, but say you can't teach it. You can't. What you're saying is not right. Here's why. So, let's pray. Father, we do thank you again for the opportunity to hear Dr. Holman and his lectures on creation. We ask again that you would help us to think these things through, be able to use them in our own conversation. Much of you, most of all,